In this lesson, I want to give directions to how to install the Ganglia software on a cluster. To install Ganglia, you need to install several RPMs on the head node. Again, using yum, I have a command line here listing several of the RPMs that we need to install. On the worker node, we only need to install one RPM called Ganglia gmon-d, and that's actually a monitoring node. So once those are installed, they also have init scripts that you can set to have them start when the machine boots. The two init scripts that are important are the ones for gmeta-d and everywhere you're going to monitor gmon-d. So since we're using the head node as a worker node in this case, we're also going to include a gmon-d on the head node. And essentially what happens, a little background on Ganglia, the gmon-d daemon runs and collects data on the nodes. It multicasts and sends its information actually to every other gmon-d on the network. On the host, however, the gmon-d talks to the gmeta-d daemon, which collects the information from all the other hosts, which has come through the local gmon-d daemon. And I'll show you how you set that up in a second. I did mention multicast. One of the things that helps Ganglia quite a bit is on your head node is to add a multicast address that can receive the data that comes in. In this command here, you can put this in your etc/rc local, but a root add host 239.2.11.71, which is a multicast address, and the device, whatever device you're using for your cluster interconnect. Usually it'll be ETH0, might be ETH1 or some other Ethernet. But that actually helps Ganglia work quite a bit. The other thing you need to do is there's some very simple configuration files. On the head node, there's a etc ganglia gmeta-d.conf. We'll take a look at that right now. And there's only one area you need to set in this file. And if you go down a little bit, it's going to want to know where am I going to get my data. Basically, if you tell it, look for it on localhost, it's going to look for a gmon-d daemon running, and that's where it's going to get its data. Now, you can set the port values and everything for the different daemons. We're all working off of the defaults. Basically, we just tell it for my cluster, and that name really doesn't matter. Look to the local host to get your information. That's pretty much all we need to set in that file. The other file, the gmon-d, if we scroll down a little bit, there is a little thing called cluster where if we want to give it a name, this cluster is actually called Limulus. So we fill in Limulus, and the owner, latitude, and URL really aren't necessary. But this is information that's going to go with the data that the daemon sends. This is a way to tag it so it knows it's going to collect all the information for Limulus cluster and put it up on the web page. So it's a way to keep the information working together. And that has to happen on the config files on all the nodes, including the head node. Once you set those files, you need to restart the daemons on all the nodes. And this is where PDSH comes in handy. And I'll take this time to give you a little example. PDSH-NW head node, comma, N bracket 0 to 2, service, gmon-d, restart. You can see I've got 4 shutting down messages and 3 starting up messages. So basically what I did with PDSH was restart all the Ganglia daemons. And then on the host, since I've changed the config file, I'll need to do a service gmon-d, restart service, and it restarts the daemon. It may take a little while for things to get synced up, so don't expect the data to show up right away. Finally, to see your data, the easiest configuration at this point is to just go to http localhost/Ganglia. And you can configure it differently, but the Ganglia install sets it up like that to make it easy. And like I said, you can change it. And I believe the base install is only viewable on the host system. You have to set some permissions, so if you want to look at it remotely from another system. So that's basically how you install Ganglia on the nodes in a Hadoop cluster.